All right, so this is, of course, the Carters, and I'm sorry that I couldn't have brung it out earlier, but you know the Triple X Tentacion death really screwed me up. So of course, you know the Carters, Jay-Z, B, and of course, you know they kind of flirted with the idea of having a album or a collab album like 2 years back before, you know, of course, 444 and of course the album Lemonade, where they talked about their cheating. And they do talk still about how Jay-Z cheated and Beyonce felt like betrayed. But, you know, of course, they did it in a very interesting and solid way. But yeah, let's get down to the nitty gritty and talk about a pretty solid album that, of course, come from hip hop's power couple. So yeah, let's start it out. So we start out with a song called Summer, which is more of a miss than a hit to me. I mean, it's one of the least lyrical tracks on here because there's a lot of lyrical highlights, but this one is not. Now, I thought Summer could be a reference to Cruel Summer and how Jay-Z kind of maybe falled out with Kanye, but nah, it didn't. It's just mostly a Limp Dick reference to a lot of stuff, like Jay-Z's Beach is Better. He opens with a reference to that on his opening verse, of course. And Beyonce says the water is so blue, which could be a reference to her daughter, Blue. And also she had the song Sandcastles, which was a huge hit off her album Lemonade, of course, you know. Then you get to the single that was released before this album, Ape Shit. And of course, Jay-Z pretty much says that the Grammys ain't shit and that 0 for 8 shit is a bunch of ape shit because he was nominated for 8 awards and didn't win a damn one of them. He was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award, but that doesn't mean shit when it comes to the grand scheme of his album 444 losing. So not only did we have Beyonce Lemonade lost, but we had 444 lost, of course. Jay-Z also does a nod to how he turned down the Super Bowl, which is something I wish that his friend Justin Timberlake did. And Beyonce does this, "He give me vitamin D" reference, which of course is Cardi B, who of course referenced the whole thing in her response for Offset's behalf. Boss, of course, talks about, you know, it could be a reference to how Beyonce a long time ago wanted to ban the term bossy because she thought that that was more, you know, very biased towards women, that term, of course. And Jay-Z has this killer verse where he talks about how if you're rich but your homies are not, you in the end game is poor to him. Now, the song, of course, Nice, gives us our first problem, or one of the first lyrical problems of this album, The Flexing by B. She referenced how if she gave a fuck about streams, she would have put Lemonade on Spotify, which I just like to say, well, you did, or at least your record label did, so it kind of takes the bite or imph out of that shit, you know, to me, if you ask me, like, yeah. But I have to say, Beyonce flow was nice. And of course, the Pharrell feature, which is very much uncredited, was on here. Pharrell says that he preps like, or he stacks like doomsday preppers, which was a pretty good line. All right, 713 is another nice track. You know, it samples a little bit too much from Still DRE, but I heard a rumor that Jay-Z Ghost written that song, so of course he might feel justified in sampling it a little bit more. But of course Jay-Z talks about how he kind of like left Beyonce and how he mistreated Beyonce in the past, and there's a lot of references to Jay-Z mistreating Beyonce all throughout this album, Like, damn. It's like the side B of Lemonade and 444 this album. Alright, now Jay-Z also talks about how on Friends, how he got Meek Mill freed, which is a pretty kick-ass thing to do. And what a real friend would do while you can't even get your homie out of jail, or at least give him bond and shit like that. Oh yes, and Jay-Z also notes that we're geometrically opposed. You trying angels like you fucking trolling, right? Which was a killer ass little reference. Like, if you didn't get it, triangles, geometrically opposed, have to do with measuring and science and shit like that, you know. Killer verse. All right, Jay-Z talks about, you know how the concept of sunning a person? Well, Jay-Z pretty much fathers this new generation. And he's Billie Jean times 1,000, where he had to deny the baby. You know what I'm talking about? Like, he did some Drake shit, denying the baby, of course. But yeah, that's on Hear About Them. And of course, we get to the last and the most lasting track, which is, of course, Black Effects, opening up with a killer explanation of what love is, which I think is awesome, since this album is called Love Is Everything. Jay-Z says that he's good in every MLK Boulevard, and he has a scope in his dreams, like he's Malcolm X, of course. He also referenced how he made his own wave. Now everybody's anti-title, you know, which is a nice little thing to say. And also Beyonce does this reference to how you're not going to chop her Pharaoh's nose off, which could be a reference to how Napoleon supposedly did that with the Egyptians. And also she said on Formation that she loves her Negro with the Michael Jackson nostrils, which, of course, Jay-Z has a huge snort, a huge fucking nose. So, of course, that's like a reference to like Jay-Z and shit like that. Also, Jay-Z said that they're stealing the corn braids. They're stealing the corn rows. You might as well get the scarecrow, which I thought was a pretty good, cool, nice little reference. You know, how scarecrows are, of course, in like cornrows and shit like that, where you would see miles and miles of corn, and then you see the scarecrow, which would scare off the birds. I thought that was like a very deep and intelligent little reference. And then you have the last and final track, which is Love Happy. Now, I swear the title makes it seem like one of them is dyslexic, because it would sound more like functional if it said like happy love, but love happy shit, okay? But yeah, of course, Jay-Z and Beyonce share verses back to back with each other, which Drake, you know, poop. And Beyonce have this killer little line where she says, love is deeper than the pain, and I know you can change. Like, that's a nice ass line right there. And Beyonce also has this killer line where she says that heaven, we went through hell with heaven on the side. I thought that was pretty nice line from B. Whoever wrote B's lyrics, I have to give it to her, you know. B must have more ghostwriters than Drake. Wink, wink. But of course, you know, she also has this line where she says, we're flawed but perfect for each other, which really melted my heart and really warmed my soul. That's a nice line. Just so many lovely lines on this album. I have to give it to Beyonce and Jay. Like, this is truly a nice-ass love album. A nice-ass R&B album, you know, rap and B album, I should say. But yeah, I'm going to give this album a 7 because some of the production wasn't really that good, of course, and it's a little bit too short for me. But hey, please like, subscribe, share this video. So how did you feel about this new Jay-Z Beyonce collab. I know most of you won't hear it because y'all niggas don't have title like me. So yeah, I'm out. Audi 5000. Peace out, man. Boop.